Dawn barely stains the sky gray. Even in summer, the morning is only a few degrees above freezing, and every breath still clouds in front of you. You stop chewing the dried meat, your gaze fixed on the gray horizon. Somewhere inside that white darkness, skin boats crowded with armed men are already gliding silently from the distant Siberian shore. The fog hides the water, and the hair on your arms lifts in the cold. But not yet. Right now, you have not even been born. You enter the world inside a semi-subterranean sod house, dug into the tundra permafrost, with whale ribs overhead and layers of turf and moss outside. Your father is out on the shore ice when your first cry rises. By the time he crawls home through the low entrance tunnel, two people have already told him. In the corner beneath the skins, your older sister Inupiat and your 2-year-old brother Iñupiat watch in silence as your mother wipes you clean. Your father lifts you toward a translucent whale gut window so the gray daylight reaches your face. He studies you without speaking, then returns you to your mother. He doesn't talk much. He only touches your head with 2 fingers, the way his own father once touched his. Your people call themselves Inupiat, the real people, and your land will someday be called the northwest coast of Alaska. By 3, you recognize your father by the sharp slap of the skin door as he ducks through the low entrance, dried black seal blood crusted on his sleeves. A deep soapstone lamp with a moss wick floating in seal oil provides the only heat and light in the house after dark. Above it, a pot carved from the same stone hangs from a wooden tripod, broth bubbling inside. For the first time you can remember, he crouches to your height and gives you a tiny walrus carved from ivory, no larger than his thumb. You close your fist around it before anyone can take it back. A little more than 100 people live in your village, 24 semi-subterranean houses dug into the tundra near the coast, their whale-ribbed frames buried under sod and barely visible above the snow. Smoke threads from every entrance. The largest structure is the kargi, a communal house deeper and wider than any family dwelling. Men gather there to hold council and repair tools, and in winter, its seal oil lamp never goes dark. You scramble out of the entrance tunnel behind your older brother Iñupiat and 2 other boys. No adult calls you back. Everyone is busy repairing harness or working hides beside the houses. You pass the kargi, racks of drying seal meat and fish, and overturned kayaks resting on driftwood supports, until tundra gives way to shorefast ice. Farther out in the strait, broken floes are already drifting. None of you know yet how thin this ice has gotten in a week of thawing. Your older brother teaches you to cross the shore ice by gripping the back of your clothing. He is 8, and that, in his opinion, is enough to command you. The ice appears flat until a foot breaks through a thin layer of snow and plunges into black water. You scream. Iñupiat drops flat, grips your parka hood, and drags you onto solid ice before the current can pull you beneath the edge. He only laughs after you stand again. Then he takes off his glove and wraps his warm palm around your wet fingers. At home, your mother is already waiting. She strips off your heavy, soaked caribou parka and uses her ulu to cut through the frozen laces of your sealskin mukluks faster than numb fingers could untie them. Your inner birdskin shirt, feathers turned inward, lands beside her in a wet bundle. She wraps you in dry caribou hides beside the seal oil lamp and rubs your numb feet with bare hands until feeling returns. By 8, you already know the rule. If you want to eat, your hands must learn to work. You spend entire mornings gathering driftwood from the beach with children your own age. You learn to lash a detachable bone harpoon head so it will hold inside a struggling seal. Father corrects your knots more often than praises them. At night, you listen from outside the kargi as older men speak over the beat of skin drums. The condition of the ice, when whales may arrive, and the raiding party that came too far along the coast 3 summers ago. Trouble reaches your household not in boats, but in the form of 3 men carried home from a hunting camp 2 days along the coast. One is your father's brother, an arrow broken off in his shoulder. Inland hunters mistook his party for another group, or perhaps they simply saw an opportunity. Your mother stays awake for 2 full nights, packing the wound with dry moss. He survives the fever, but that arm never rises above his shoulder again. In the evenings, your father repairs his armor. It is not a solid shell, but rows of narrow plates pierced along the edges and tied with hide thongs so they move with his body. Some plates are carved from bone. The strongest are walrus ivory. One has crack beside a lacing hole. Father takes it off and puts it on your palm. It is smooth on one side, scratched on the other. You ask what struck it. An arrow, he replies. Armor does not make a person invulnerable. It only changes how deep the arrow bites. At 16, you receive your first true fighting spear. Its obsidian point is not new. The weapon belonged to your uncle, who is still alive but can no longer raise the arm that once threw it. That same season, you are finally allowed inside the kargi during a full council instead of listening from the entrance. The men argue over the ice until 2 of them grip forearms, closing the dispute. One day, almost half of the village goes ashore to stretch seal skins on the frame of a large umiak. Each person holds one section taut, while skilled hands stitch the edges together. You pull too hard, and a gap opens beside the seam. Iñupiat sees it first. She does not scold you. She eases the tension, slips a strip of hide beneath the gap, and closes it with sinew thread. She works faster than you can come up with an excuse. When the hull is tested, everyone watches your section. The seam remains dry. The boat is launched. Adults load lines, floats, harpoons, food, and spare tools. Children run along the gravel spit, laughing at your clumsy concentration. Your father finally lets you take a kayak alone into the current, with no one behind you to check the coils of harpoon line or the inflated sealskin float tied to its end. You wait all morning without seeing anything, so cold that you stop believing a seal will ever surface. Then one appears 20 paces beyond the bow. Your first throw is clumsy and low. The second throw strikes. The bone point holds, and the sealskin float drags hard across the water behind a line unwinding fast enough to burn your palm. While towing the seal home alone, your hands shake so badly that you stop twice and seize the line with both hands. You grin the entire way because no one is there to see you smiling at a dead animal as though it were a person. That night, you stand your first real watch on the highest mound in the center of the settlement. The mound grows whenever another house is dug and its soil is carried there. Your stomach tightens exactly as your uncle once said his did on his first watch, though he never explained why. You gradually get used to the weight of the armor on your shoulders as you stomp up the hill to keep warm. Aluki, who has been teasing you since you were too small to reach the tool shelf, now stands guard nearby instead of stealing your dried meat. Far out on the gray water, 3 shapes could be nothing, could be whales, or could be boats. Then the fog swallows them. You raise the alarm anyway. A false alarm is better than a silence that proves correct. At 18, you marry Iñupiat, a young woman from a neighboring settlement. Your wife is shorter than you and reads the weather better by the movement of low clouds. That winter, seal oil runs short. The whale hunt was poor, and even careful families extinguish their lamps at night to stretch what remains until spring. Your first child weakens with every dark hour. A dry cough, skin burning under your hand, fingers growing pale as if life is draining from them. Iñupiat keeps the infant beneath her parka, skin against skin. You take turns through the nights until the lamp holds no oil at all. Iñupiat brings a bladder of oil from her own stores without knowing whether she will have enough to reach spring. The lamp burns again. On the 3rd night, a shaman beats a skin drum above the child, blows smoke across her face, and calls helper spirits by names you are forbidden to repeat. You do not fully trust the old names, but that night you are ready to pray to anything. By evening, the fever finally breaks, and the child nurses for the first time in days. You call it the shaman's miracle. Iñupiat smiles and says quietly that the child is finally warm. Some years, the strait clears early, and the spring whale hunt is generous. You learn to recognize the blow of a bowhead whale from half a mile away. With the rest of the umiak crew, you bring home more than anyone expected. Slabs of meat and blubber lowered into deep permafrost cellars to last into the following summer. When belugas pass close to shore in summer, a dozen curved white backs cutting the calm water, everyone strong enough to hold a paddle launches at once. You and Iñupiat drive part of the pod toward the shallows, striking the water with your paddles and shouting until the animals bunch together over the sandbar. Your bone harpoon strikes the glistening dark flank of the nearest whale. The sealskin float leaps after the line as it unwinds with a hiss. The whale tows your kayak for 100 paces before tiring. 3 other hunters bring their boats alongside and finish it with spears. That evening, the whole village eats fresh maktak on the shore. Even Iñupiat, who rarely praises anyone, grips your shoulder the way your father once did. Twice that same summer, Chukchi traders cross the strait in calm weather instead of raiders. Beside a driftwood fire, you trade walrus ivory for soft reindeer hides. Neither side reaches for a weapon. Your father, already gray, counts the pelts twice before nodding in satisfaction and handing over the tusks without further haggling. Tonight, the watch is yours. Your gaze shifts constantly between the dark tundra behind you, where attackers could approach on foot, and the cold water ahead, where Chukchi boats may appear from Siberia. The dawn is barely graying. Dark marks on the water are growing faster than they should. The alarm passes from house to house. You tighten your grip on your uncle's spear. No one stands watch unarmed. Within moments, dozens of raiders in layered seal hide armor, some reinforced with bone plates, are leaping from large skin boats into the shallows. The raiders climb from the shore toward the settlement. The first are met by arrows from the roof of the kargi. Dogs erupt into barking and charge the attackers. Your people fall back between the semi-subterranean houses, using the sod-covered roofs as cover. You wait at the corner of your own house with your uncle's spear ready. A raider appears one step away. You thrust the obsidian point into his side before he can swing. The same close fighting breaks out between other houses. A second attacker comes from the side before you recover from the thrust. His bone-tipped lance slams through a gap in your chest plates. The pain takes your breath away, but you stay on your feet. Screams come from every direction, and you cannot tell whose they are. Iñupiat and Inupiat are somewhere in the middle, but you don't see them. Then, as suddenly as it began, the fighting weakens. The raiders have lost too many men. They break for the shore. Their skin boats pull back into open water. Only the dogs chase them. The defenders have no strength left for pursuit. You sit against the sod wall of a house, one hand pressed to the wound in your chest. 2 old hunters lie motionless beside the kargi entrance. You search the faces of everyone still standing. You cannot find your family. You find them in your mother's house. Inupiat lies on the sleeping skins, her arm bound tightly above the elbow. An arrow struck her while she dragged a wounded defender out of the fighting. Iñupiat sits bent beside her, a club bruise spreading across half his back. He insists he is fine until your mother silences him with one look. Your son presses into the corner, too frightened to approach, until Naviuk lifts him into her arms. You sit on the threshold because your legs will no longer hold you. For the first time all day, you notice how violently your hands are shaking. 3 nights after the raid, you enter the kargi with the rest of the settlement and speak the names of the defenders who died. You sit between Iñupiat and Inupiat with your chest bound. Both of them still move with the care of old people. The years change like the ice, and you live long enough to become the gray-haired man to whom other households send their sons to learn the proper knot for a harpoon head. In some seasons, Chukchi still come as raiders. In others, years pass without an attack. Distance, weather, trade, and old agreements can hold the violence back, but never erase the risk. In other seasons, the Chukchi return as traders. You sit beside driftwood fires with men whose fathers you once fought, exchanging ivory for hides while neither side speaks the old names. Neither of you says the word forgiveness. You simply hand him a hide pouch filled with pieces of jade. He hands you a heavy bundle of dark fox skins without weighing or counting it.